the depth of your impact is also as important as the breadth of your impact, which happens over time. Anything I create, I'm like, if one person watching this can walk away with something, or I've somehow helped them think about something differently, or maybe like they've had a light bulb moment, then that's a win. What I find in having done all these videos and podcasts is, when I look back, I'm like, it's a cringe. I'm like, oh my God, that was so bad. But you have to be willing to go through the valley of cringe. You have to be awful before you can be better, before you can be good, before you can be really, really good. And that's true for anything.
Hey, Money Movers. Welcome to another exceptional episode of Her Money Moves. Today, we are here in Miami, Florida with an incredible guest. She is a true trailblazer in the world of marketing and PR. She was named the Zen Master of Marketing by Entrepreneur Magazine, a Millennial Master of the Universe by Fast Company, and honored by the White House and United Nations as one of the top 100 entrepreneurs of North America. The CEO and founder of well-known award-winning company Zen Media, the one and only Shama Hyder. Shama, thank you so much for being here on Her Money Moves. I mean, you are a powerhouse in media, a global speaker, a huge accomplished public figure, best-selling author. I mean,
gosh, you're so kind. Keep going, but
I mean, and you come from my home state of Texas. Amazing.
Yes.
So just real excited to get started and just hear about everything with your journey and how you were able to grow this incredible media conglomerate.
Yeah, I'm happy to share. It's funny, I always tell people I was born in India but forged in Texas, and so my identity is very Texan. I think. So like, where are you from? I'm like, Texas. And they're like, no, but where really are you from? And I'm like, no, I was born in India, but I am very much forged in Texas. I don't have any tattoos, but I feel like if I was going to get one, that's what it would say.
So your career has evolved alongside this whole digital landscape. What has been the biggest transformation in media since you started, and how did you navigate it?
Gosh, I think the biggest transition happened right as I was coming out of grad school, which is sort of the key moment that, that's what tipped off my entire career. That's what started everything. And I think that sort of like macro inflection point, as we were talking about sort of before the cameras rolled, about inflection points, was this idea that people are now the media, right? And so we went from sort of very traditional sources of media to the kind of the world we live in now, which is creators and influencers, and the average person, right, has the ability to reach so many, and talking about crowdsourcing reviews and just the stuff. To me, that's really been the tipping point of going from there are a few key stakeholders in the world of information, and that really changing to the world that we live in now, which is Instagram and TikTok and social. And so to me, that's what social media always has been, not just these platforms, but the fact that people are the media.
Yeah, we can take control of our own destinies, right?
Yes, that's definitely one facet of it. Yeah, and then again, anyone who has something to say and has the ability to do that today, which I think that like we've never had that in the history of the world.
Amazing. And where does your entrepreneurial spirit come from? Like, what was your first business venture?
My first business venture was actually when I was 9 years old. I wrote a newsletter before it was cool to write newsletters. I mean, this is like a hand-printed, written newsletter, which I sold to an 11-year-old who thought that was really cool and wanted to buy the venture. So, it's funny. I was always entrepreneurial as a kid. My sister remembers me as sort of being a very Dora the Explorer type personality with like the monkey and the backpack and always on some sort of mission. And then, I got to high school, I got to college. And somewhere along the way, I think the education system does such a good job of changing that. Because by the time I got out of college, I was thinking, I'm going to go get a job, a regular job. That's what I want to, what you're supposed to do. And I'm glad that for multiple reasons that didn't work out for me. And I was able to find my entrepreneurial roots again. But I think in that way, I've always been very entrepreneurial and sort of industrious.
I love that. And it's so true. They try to put you and fit you in a box, and, we're supposed to comply. And, it's like you don't reach your full potential.
Gosh, yeah, that's always been hard for me because I've always been a multi-hyphenate. And so I talk a lot about, I think now, about being a multi-hyphenate, meaning you wear multiple hats. Like, I have a founder and CEO of a marketing and PR firm. It's like my day job. And then I've written these nonfiction books. I just finished a fiction book, which is, again, very different. I'm like, now I'm like going all the way in a different realm. Wrote a fiction book, and I do keynote speaking. And so, yeah, there's just, and as women, right, I think we are much more comfortable in multiple roles. Like, I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I'm a sister, right? I'm a friend. So I have these roles. Even in our personal lives, we are very multi-hyphenate because being a daughter of an immigrant household looks dramatically different than, being a wife or a sister or whatnot. And then professionally, yes, I wear a lot of hats too. And I think that's always been probably the biggest challenge, and also the most gratifying thing about my career this far is finding a way to bring all these pieces together and still allow them to sort of rest in one person.
Wow, that's amazing. And what is your fiction book about?
So the fiction book is completely different. So my nonfictions have been about marketing and business. My fiction is like a fun beach read. It is about it's actually the first time I'm talking about this. This might be the first time someone even hears.
Awesome. Exclusive premiere.
Exclusive. Yeah, I really have not spoken about this publicly because he said I just finished the manuscript and now my agent is chatting with publishers, and so we will see where that goes. But it's a fun beach read. It actually takes place in Miami, and the heroine of the book is a young grad student who has been kicked out of school for plagiarism and is fighting these charges. And while she's back in Miami, finds out that her first childhood crush has been accused by the Miami PD of absconding with $1 million. So just like, it's kind of a fun mystery, right? I think Crazy Rich Asians esque book, because there's so much, like when I was growing up, I love reading fiction. I just never saw myself reflected in any of these characters that were usually white and upper Northeast. And I was like, and so my character is interesting because she is half Indian, half American, half white, which my children are. My daughter is, my son is too, but I was really thinking about like my daughter as I'm writing this. And then she's grown up in the Latin culture, so she speaks Spanish, and there's a lot of that influence. I think these coming generations are going to be so different, right? So Gen Z, Gen Alpha, how they think about themselves and their identity and being multicultural is going to be very different. It's very pluralistic, way different than I think historically we put ourselves in boxes. And so, my kids, they speak Spanish fluently. And I mean, mine is más o menos, so it's it's not very fluent.
Cerveza.
It's very, yes, like, ¿dónde está el baño, right? It's just very, and so for my kids, like that they just grew up speaking that, right? And of course English, and they are growing up in Miami. So a lot of the things that I put in the book were the characters that I feel like are very present day, and I hit on concepts and things that I see, right? Like, so how the influencer world works and how creators work and what's kind of behind the scenes about deep fakes and AI and what role that's going to play in society at large. And I've kind of done it through the lens of being sort of fun and fast-paced and these characters. So anyways, very different than anything else I've created. But, that is, I think part of that is also thinking about what do I enjoy creating, and hopefully it resonates with people.
Well, I know it's going to fly off the shelf. I can't wait to get a copy.
Thank you, Stacey. I will definitely make sure that you get a copy.
Thank you. So entrepreneurship can be such a roller coaster. I know. What keeps you going?
I think all entrepreneurs, myself included, are a little crazy. I think you have to be. When someone says, like, they say, oh, I'm thinking about being an entrepreneur. And I love it. Like, that's great. I think people should follow their dreams. You get one life, right? And then my immediate sort of question to them is, do you like solving problems? And they're like, yeah, of course. I love problem solving. I'm like, great. You like this every day. And they're like, well, what do you mean? I'm like, every day you wake up and there's something new that's broken that you get to tinker with or fix or make better. Like, do you like this? And they'll be like, oh, yeah, I guess I could do that. I'm like, no. Do you thrive off of this? Like, will you wake up every morning and be like, let's see what we can, break today or solve today or fix? That is a very rare thing. And I think that these days, entrepreneurship is so glorified and we've turned it into this very sexy thing to be an entrepreneur. And I'm like, it's really not. It's super nitty gritty, in the weeds. It is a messy, dirty.
Oh yeah.
In the sense of
your
just
roadkill all the time.
All the time, you lose more than you win. And so it is a sport. And it is not a sport for everybody, nor should it be. I just feel like, so much of this gets glamorized and we glorify entrepreneurs. And yes, there's really something cool when you emerge victorious from your battles, but most days you don't. And I think that's just not said enough. So yeah, what keeps you going? I can't think of not being an entrepreneur right now, whether it's just who I am. It's the way I look at the world. I think it's much more a lens and a mindset than it is what I do. So I don't think I've ever had a choice. I think it just is who I am.
Love that. What's one unconventional decision that really paid off in your career in a big way?
All my decisions have been incredibly unconventional, Stacey. I think I've always just chosen weird, unconventional decisions. And I think it's like, if you ask me, well, how do you know it's paid off? I'm like, well, you kind of don't, right? Because I don't know. Maybe the conventional path would have been the better path. Who knows? All I can say is that I'm happy and I'm glad that I've always sort of done things my way because what's the alternative, right? Doing things in a way that doesn't, and so I'll give you like one very strong example that always stands out when someone asks me that question, and that's when I was in college. So I went to UT, and I originally started in the McCombs School of Business. It's very prestigious. It's a top 10, top 20 business school in the country. And then I took some classes in the School of Communication. And I wanted to switch. So I went to my advisor and I said, I want to switch out of business school. And she said, are you sure? And I said, yeah. And she said, look, nobody switches out of business school. And, it is a little bit of like, we are McCombs, it's cool. And she was like, look, I have a wait list of students who just get into UT trying to get into business school. You don't want to leave the business school. And so she said, I want you to think about this. Sleep on it, come back tomorrow. And I came back the next day and I said, no, still want to switch. And I did. And I think, again, conventional wisdom would be like, oh, all these people trying to get in and you're leaving. But, I loved comms. I loved the professors I'd gotten a chance to study with. And I went on to do my master's in the same school. I got a master's in organizational communication and technology. And so, I've always done things that may have not been conventional, and I've forged my own path. I've always been grateful for that. It's so hard because you could do like, well, what would have happened if you'd stayed in business school, right? Maybe you would have been more successful. And it's like, who knows? But I know for my college experience, I was really glad to have done that and got the tutelage of these amazing professors that I really wanted to study with.
It obviously paid off. So you've helped so many brands craft their digital presence. What are the biggest mistakes that you see people making with their personal brands?
The same mistake I see with brands, even business brands, it's always the same. It's a lack of consistency. So I think that's number one, meaning, and it's funny, I've had clients, recently I spoke to a client who said, whose brand has really grown and it's very exciting. And we worked with him years ago and he was like, Shama, I just wanted to tell you, like, I wish that I'd taken your advice and I wish that I just continued, because like you knew. And I was like, yeah, but it's hard because every day you wake up and you're like, am I speaking into an abyss? What am I doing? Right. And then in so much of you don't get that contrary to kind of popular opinion or belief, not everyone's content gets all those likes and you don't get that instant feedback. I mean, I think there's a very small segment of creators and brands that do, but for the most part, that's not true at all. And especially if you think about how much the internet has changed, meaning, we used to look at the internet and social media with a lot of novelty, right? It was very exciting. So you commented on things and you engaged and it was a very public engagement. And today what I find is we consume publicly, but we share privately. So the majority of people watching this, listening to this, they're not going to leave a comment. Great if you do, say hi, but chances are you're not. You're getting, what's much more likely is someone sends a clip to say, like, this is what I was talking about in our call last week, or, it's like so much of what happens today is in WhatsApp groups and Slack channels and private networks and DMs and all of that. And so, just even this, Stacey, like you reached out, I think through LinkedIn, right?
Yes.
Through DMs. And so it's not like you're leaving public comments and, so I think part of that is for brands, personal or otherwise, doesn't matter, understanding that consumption is engagement. That's what you're aiming for. And if you give up because you're not getting enough comments and people, especially if you're in something, I would say more B2B, right? Or like so many of the brands that we work with, or it's not like a sexy industry, then you see that even less. But that doesn't mean that it's not, it's manufacturing, industrial tech, it doesn't matter. Doesn't mean that it's not hitting the mark. It just means the way we as a society and as consumers engage with the internet, with social, has just changed so dramatically.
Would love your advice on amplifying the podcast, because let me tell you,
Yeah.
I'm like, the content is phenomenal. The quality is exceptional. The guests are forces of nature. And so I want the whole world, to subscribe and to learn from these amazing women like yourself. But maybe you can give me some advice for her money moves so we can elevate.
Happy to. How many episodes have you done now? What episode number am I?
I want to say you're number 40.
Okay, you got 60 more to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
It's me being impatient, huh? Like, I want it now.
Trust me, and it's not wrong. I mean, I get it, right? Right. It's what's made you so successful, and that's the funny counterintuitive thing of all of this. What's made so many people successful, including you, Stacey, is that you have a ability to take action, right? You have more than an ability. Your inclination is towards action. It is to do things. It is to make things happen. And that means that you work on your own timeline, like I do. Like whatever the world's timeline is, I have my own, right? And if you want to look at a really extreme version, Elon Musk has very much his own timeline. Like whatever the world time, it's not his timeline. And so, but when you're creating content, when you're doing these things, it doesn't work that way. Because you are, I tell people, like, you are a blip in people's feed, because there's so many things. Like, while this might be the thing that is part of your world, the thing in your world, it is a thing in everybody else's world. And so part of that is patience. Now, especially with content, which I think is fun and interesting, is, they asked Mr. Beast, who's like the #1 YouTuber and whatnot. And they said, they're like, what's your advice? I want to get, and he said, if you make 100 videos and you make each one a little better than the one you made yesterday, right? You're on your way. Because you have to think about it, Mr. Beast, and people don't realize this, he started making videos when he's 11 years old. He's 11, he's 12, he's 13, he's 14, he's 15. Crickets for years, and then finally, like 18, 19, right, things take off for him and whatnot. But part of that is you do keep doing what you're doing, because some of the best podcasts, some of the things, they've taken a long time to really hit that tipping point. And then knowing your audience, which you clearly do, right? You're not creating for everyone. You're like, I have these audience. You're talking to women. Obviously, it sounds like you have forward thinking leaders who listen to this, who are engaged. You said to me that you want this to act as an inspiration. Inspiration's my word, not yours. But for younger women watching this, so I hope people share this with their daughters and sisters and whatnot, because the point is to see people like you and me do the things that we're doing, that they may look more like us than they do, right? A lot of the folks that they grew up watching or seeing. Because when I grew up too, the only person of color on TV was Oprah.
Yep.
right?
Yep.
That was it.
That's
And
also my era.
sure. And it's just that's for so many folks. And yeah, so I think just continuing to focus on that and knowing that, right, like the depth of your impact is also as important as the breadth of your impact, which happens over time. But to me, that's how I think about it, is like, if anything I create, I'm like, if one person watching this can walk away with something where I've somehow helped them think about something differently, or maybe like they've had a light bulb moment, then that's a win, right? I think we're just so used to doing, this is not like a regular business where necessarily more input equals more output. There is time, there is patience, and each episode you get better, right? Like that's the thing too. What I find in having done all these videos and podcasts is, when I look back, I'm like, it's a cringe. I'm like, oh my God, that was so bad. But you have to be willing to go through the valley of cringe,
Mm-hmm.
which I don't think most people are, because it's cringy. Nobody wants to do it. But you have to go through the valley of cringe. You have to go through the forest of ick. You have to go through these like places where you're like, I hate watching myself and hearing myself. And oh my God, that was so awful. You have to be awful before you can be better, before you can be good, before you can be really, really good. And that's true for anything. So
Amazing
that's,
advice.
you know,
Thank
it's like a
you.
more of a pep talk than marketing advice.
Thank
but
you. No, and so do you also use that, like tap into that as you do your global public speaking? 'Cause, like, you're a
yes.
huge sought after speaker everywhere.
Thank you. I've been very lucky. I've spoken in 26 countries. I really enjoy speaking because it allows me to reach people, and being on stage, there's just a different energy that you connect with the audience. And I love that. I thrive off of that. And I love, again, you know, when I'm doing a video or I'm doing, like, maybe I could touch one person, a client or whatnot, but in an audience like that, you know, if I'm speaking like 15,000 people, let's say, you can just have so much more impact with what you're trying to say and do, and touch all those lives. So yeah, I love it. I actually started speaking in high school. I did oratory competitions, so I was winning. I won state, and I really enjoyed it. In college, I gave that up. I didn't really pursue it. And then it wasn't until I got out of college, I started my agency, that people said, can you come talk to us about this? Can you come talk to us about social media? Can you come talk to us about marketing? And from that, it's really evolved, right? So the things I talk about today, which is much more how to succeed in tomorrow. So I call myself a nowist, not just like, you know what's happening tomorrow, but how can you apply it today? Like, what are these things that are coming down the pipeline that you can do something about today? Like, again, I'm very action oriented. So I think that resonates even with the odd types of audiences that I speak to, which is, yeah, like, would I go back to my office, my home office, my team? What do I take with me? So that's a lot of what I focus on, including like just how to be relevant in the world, right? Like I think that's our biggest battle, is how do we stay relevant? Whether you are doing a podcast, whether you're running a brand, whether you have your career. And I don't think that's something that's getting talked about very much. So yeah, I like that's my trajectory. Yeah, I love speaking. I've done it for a long time. And my biggest hack for not being nervous, because people are like, how can you get up in front of so many people? And the moment I take the focus off myself, I get really comfortable. So I find the hack is to not focus on you. So if you are doing anything and you're doing it for, I want validation, I want respect, I want these people to like me, I want someone to watch this and really like feel like I did a good job. There's so much energy built up into that you are projecting, whether you realize it or not. When you switch that and say, F it, they could think I'm terrible, this is not funny, but something in them is moved. Like, all I want to do is help this audience, whoever I can, right? Do something differently, think about something differently. And if I've done that, then I've succeeded. And when I do that, whether I'm speaking, whether I'm working, anything, when I just started to take the pressure off myself, I don't care. You don't have to like me.
Mm-hmm.
Right? There's plenty of times I've been hired to give a message that is not something the audience wants to hear, because my economic buyer is someone who's like, I need my team to understand this, or I need this group to understand this. They're not all thrilled about the future, right? There's a lot of fear there. My job is not always to tell them what they want to hear. My job is to tell them what they need to hear, what I feel is going to be helpful to them, regardless of what they think of me as the messenger, and do it in a way that connects. And so I think that's a big thing that so many times people forget. It's like, take the focus off of you.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Exceptional tip. So in a world of digital noise, we hear every day, how can entrepreneurs and business leaders stand out and remain authentic?
So authentic is a really, really overused word, right? And I get why people say that, because it's like, how it really just means like, how do I be true to me? But I think again, it's the question is flawed. So many people focus on how do I be true to me versus how do I do something that helps people? What is the value I can bring to the table? And I don't think that a lack of authenticity is most people's problem. If you were asking yourself, how do I show up authentically? I promise you, that's not your challenge. The people who need to be asking themselves that will never ask themselves that, right? It's like imposter syndrome. I'm like, people who actually they never question this. So the fact that someone would even say like, am I an imposter or feel that syndrome? You don't have it.
Yeah.
That
word does not exist in my vocabulary.
Yeah. So, but it's just really funny because for people who you look at and you're like, man, that person has like, you should have imposter. They don't, right? And so, but I think most people who like ask themselves come from a real place of like more humility than they need. So the point is, I think you have to stop thinking about how do I show up authentically, whatever that means, and start really asking yourself, what do I do? What do I bring to the table that only I can share with people? And by that I mean just through we all have such unique histories, and so it doesn't matter the subject, it's your particular lens of it, it's your perception of it, it's your style in delivering that. And funnily enough, that's the same thing that actually lets you cut through the noise, is not so much how do I stand out, but how do I provide value and how do I do that consistently. And I promise you, if you do that, you just being you're going to bring your own flavor to it. People can't help that, right? We are all very different. And so I don't think you need to focus so much in you, I mean, like the collective you, on how do I show up differently? I think it's more, again, what does my audience need? What is not being filled in the marketplace? And then how can I help deliver that?
If someone is just starting out as with a zero audience, where should they focus first? Social media, PR?
Yeah, I mean, depends on what you're trying to accomplish, right? And so obviously, I think if you're starting from zero, you have to think again, get very, very clear on your audience. Who are you creating for? And the old adage is niche, and part of why they say go niche or pick a specific audience is because it's easier. It's easier to go from 0 to 1 to 100 when you have a very clear audience that you are serving. And so if you think about like a specific example and you say, oh, someone wants to create, let's say, content on style and fashion. Well, there's so much fashion and style out there, but maybe you narrow that down and you say, well, I want to do fashion style for women 40 and up who are moms who are busy, because now you have a very specific market. I mean, someone who's 20 and has all the time in the world to get their makeup and pick out their outfits is not the same as like, I've got 10 minutes to get the kids
like
to school.
us.
Like, time is everything, right?
Yes.
And so knowing your audience and then really creating for them. So that's content first. And I think, social is a great way. PR, obviously, look, it is fuel for the fire, but you need something to amplify. I think it's a mistake to do PR too soon, especially for commercial brands, because you don't have, you want to make sure there's good product market fit. You want to make sure that there's substance. You want to make sure that you are ready for amplification.
AI and automation are reshaping marketing and media. What's your take on the role of just human connection in changing this landscape?
So I feel like human beings have always had two things that have helped us survive and thrive, right, over other species, over other, the fact that humankind is still here and dinosaurs are not, media or not, withstanding, is intelligence and connection, right? And so the intelligence part, I think AI is going to surpass, if it's not already surpassing. So what are you left with? It's human connection. And that is all these soft skills that we've poo-pooed for so long, right? The empathy, the being able to relate to someone, the being able to translate, being able to really problem solve, to lead, to influence, these skills become incredibly more important. And so I think in an age of AI, where intelligence gets, super intelligence, and we're not that far from even AGI. I believe maybe 10 years less, perhaps, that what we are left with is that connection side. And the more we can nurture that, the more we can strengthen that. So with my own kids, I'm less interested. I have a 5-year-old son and a 3-year-old daughter. I'm less interested in, can they memorize the multiplication table, right? I'm less interested in when they know when the Battle of Forge was, whatever. I mean, I love this stuff. I'm a history buff and I enjoy all these things, but I am encouraging them already to ask good questions, to think about the world differently. And so, because that's really what's going to pay off, is who can ask the best questions, who can ask the things that move the needle forward. Because if you have all this intelligence that can give us answers, these other qualities become infinitely more important.
Yes, be curious. As an immigrant and a woman of color in business, what unique hurdles have you had to overcome? And how do you advise others in similar positions?
I don't focus on it. I think it's so easy to focus on, people say, oh, what about all the opportunities you didn't get because you were a woman, because you're a woman of color? I'm like, there are so many doors out there that I could be opening, that I could be doing. Any energy, spent on thinking about things that I don't have or can't do because of these things is an utter waste, right? I just want to get as good as I can at what I can do. And I want to focus. Are there clients that, in the world, it's like, aren't there companies that wouldn't work with you? Clients? Yeah, but who cares? Because there's millions more that will.
Yes,
so I just,
hair loss.
so I just don't, I'm very precious about what I spend my energy on, mentally, emotionally, physically. I'm very protective of it. And I think about how much time and energy goes into asking these. And again, the quality of your life is the quality of your questions. And so if you're asking yourself, oh, how am I going to do this because I'm a woman of color? You're asking the wrong questions, right? There's plenty of advantages I've had as a woman. I had scholarships that, the guys couldn't get. I had, I found opportunities, doors that have opened to me because of that. And so because of the language I speak, or because of the friends I have, or because of the, the cross cultures that I'm part of. And I think that's my advice to everyone out there is being a woman in business challenging, and a woman of color? Sure, so are a lot of other things, but you also have so much going for you. And again, you get more of what you focus on. So I focus on what are my skills? What are things I can't control that I'm a woman and I'm a woman of color. Like,
Yes.
Cool, check, got it. But what are all the things that I can control? Right. So I'm never using this as an excuse. Because it's too easy. It's too easy to be like, oh, we didn't get that contract because of this. Oh, we didn't. And so for me, it's much better use of my time to focus on the things that I can impact.
Yes. For young women who dream of, being thought leaders, but just struggle with confidence, what's your best advice?
Do it until you get more confident.
Hmm.
Do it without confidence until you have confidence. And this is what I said. You have to go through that valley of cringe. You have to do it when you're nervous, and you have to do it when you're like, I don't know. That's fine, but you have to do it. See, people think that you can fake it till you make it. No, you make it once you've done it enough. Confidence is a muscle. You earn that confidence. The fact that I can sit here and talk with you and share all these things, it's because I've done all the work, Stacey. I've done terrible podcasts. I have done the messy, ugly, dirty work. So my work can now be more refined. So I think so many times people want a shortcut. They want I just want something that can just make me more confident. Doesn't work that way.
No, there's no magic pill.
Yeah, except the only hack that I know is, again, less about you, more about the other person.
Mhm.
When that becomes more important than how you come across, you'll do it.
Who has been the most influential person in your life, and why?
Gosh, I have had a lot. I will say I've had a lot of influential people in my life, and I'm very lucky in that I've had a lot of people advocate for me. I've had a lot of people root for me, and so I would say it's not a singular person, but it's people across the spectrum of my life. My parents, my sister, my husband, my Henry Crown colleagues, my teammates at Zen Media. I find that it's so great to learn from everybody, right? To be curious, not judgmental, to be able to And I feel like anybody who's made me a better person because they have a quality that I like to see more in myself, that to me is influence. And so I don't have these kind of heroes to say, oh my God, this person is like everything. I like to learn from everybody that crosses my path, whether it's even things not to do.
Yes. So if you had to start Zen Media all over again, what's the first thing that you do differently?
I wouldn't do it. Are you kidding? Why would anybody subject themselves to starting a business? Oh my gosh. No, it's really funny because I think one of the biggest things that helps when you're an entrepreneur, it helped me, is naivete. Like, you don't know. If someone told you every problem you're ever going to solve, you'd be like, I don't want to do this. You don't want to sign up for it.
Yeah.
So, God, no, I like the more honest and real answer probably there is and not so tongue in cheek is, I would have worked harder earlier to get sort of the team of my dreams, which I feel like it took me a long time to really figure out what the yin to my yang is, or the yang to my yin, and find that right team. And it takes time too, because people want to work. As you get more successful, you automatically attract people who want to be associated with that, which means you automatically attract A players. So I would say if I was going to do Zen over again, I would just from the start really make sure that we had heavy hitters and great players, and take the time. Part of it is you're so busy, you're like, fine, someone applies, great, let's give them a shot. I think I'd be a lot more methodical and a lot more pickier, because it took me 16 years to build that team.
Build your dream team?
Yeah.
And what's a myth about branding or PR that you wish more people understood?
That it can work in a silo. I think that's so many times people think, oh, just like, marketing in general, like let's sprinkle a little marketing on it. Doesn't work that way. It needs to really be integrated, needs to be thought out. And so I always think about like PR, especially, it's an amplifier. You have to have something of substance, and then all of these other things are the sizzle. But you can't have the sizzle without the substance, or it's like the Wizard of Oz, the Oz behind there isn't one. Yeah.
One thing that people don't know about you that might surprise them.
Gosh, I have a terrible sense of humor. I think the people only really close to me get that side of me, which can be very ascetic. It can be very, very sarcastic. It is. I mean, I have my chief of staff who often has to, like, when we're with other people, I used to be like, they don't know you, and I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry. Like that was a joke. That's not. So that's a side that only I think really comes out when I'm very comfortable with people, and then I can be my misanthropic self. And I don't think most people who know of me know that. And if you're really close to me, then you know that.
What's next for you in Zen Media? Like any exciting projects on the horizon?
Gosh, we're just so lucky. We get the pick of our litter. We get to work with some really amazing clients doing wonderful things. And so it's just more of that. Last year was a real big year of retooling for us, tools, and being AI ready. And we practice a lot of what we preach. So we've integrated a lot of these systems into the company. This year, it's more about scaling and making sure that we are attracting the right people to the team. And part of that is also working with clients that it's a really good match and appreciate us and appreciate the team. And those people skills that we were talking about earlier get to be more and more crucial.
What are you dreaming bigger about next?
What am I dreaming bigger about? I'm dreaming bigger about what being a multi-hyphenate means. So part of that is how do I, now that I've got like a fiction book coming out, right? How do I incorporate all of that within the Shama brand without diluting it? So a lot of the same things we talk to clients about.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being here today, and look forward to staying in touch. Would love to work with Zen Media.
Oh, thanks, Stacey. Yeah, great being here. Thanks for having me on.
And reuniting with you here again in Miami
for sure. Let me know.
Another Her Money Moves Summit.
Happy to.
Thank you so much.